Hello, I'm TechBreach, and this is my component selection for a $700 gaming PC. I'd like to note that this build does not include a monitor, keyboard, mouse, or operating system. Because there is such a wide selection of choices and styles for peripherals, I believe it is a personal choice. As for the monitor, I suggest going with at least 1080p. Because some people may go for Linux, SteamOS, or may find a way to get their operating system for free, I decided to leave it out of the price range. Now on to the build. I've chosen an Intel Core i5-4570 for the CPU. This CPU runs at 3.2 GHz with a turbo boost to 3.6 GHz. For the sake of knowledge, I'd like to say that an i7 is not required, as the only major difference between the i5 and the i7 is the addition of hyper-threading, which is not utilized in gaming. For video editing and rendering, though, it can be very helpful. For the motherboard, I've chosen the MSI 881M-E33 Micro ATX. Not much to say here. It supports up to 1600 MHz of DDR3 memory and 16 GB of RAM. It only comes with 2 DIMM slots though, so if you ever decided to upgrade your RAM to 16 GB, you'd have to remove the 2x4 GB memory sticks we have installed. Next up is the memory. It's just 2 sticks of 4 GB DDR3 1600 MHz RAM. Sticking with this exact RAM is not important. I only chose these because they were on sale at the time, so look around and see if you can find any other sticks on sale for cheaper, or if this sale ends. Just be sure to stick with DDR3 1600 MHz. For storage, I chose a 7200 RPM 1TB hard drive. Just like memory, this part can be switched out with others depending on sales. As long as it's the same type, it should be fine. I chose not to include an SSD in this build because of the budget. SSDs are usually used to increase boot times, but to buy a SSD large enough to really take advantage of that would cost too much for this budget. We've got the Radeon R9 280X as the video card. Your video card will be the most expensive part in your build, and I've googled some benchmarks, and at 1080p the 280X runs Battlefield 4 on Ultra with an average of about 63 frames per second. That's pretty good for this budget. I'll leave some more benchmarks in the description. The NZXT Source 210 is the case I've chosen. It's one of the only cases in this price range that has room for cable management, airflow, and doesn't look like it's a transformer. And if you're aware of what PCPartPicker is, I'd just like to say that their website will say that you need to remove the drive bays in order to fit the video card I've chosen. You'll be fine. The case does not need the drive bays to be removed. The problem is that if your HDD lines up with the video card, there won't be room. But with 8 bays that fit your HDD, that isn't a problem. Just don't put your HDD in the drive that lines up with your video card. The last part of this build is the power supply. Since your PSU is powering all of your components, it runs the risk of destroying them if something goes wrong, so always go with the best power supply brands such as Corsair, Seasonic, XFX, and some other big name brands. The Corsair CX500M is what I've gone with. It runs at 500 watts, it's semi-modular, which means you'll be able to choose most of the cables you'd like to connect depending on what you need. It is also 80+ bronze certified. That's all for this build. If you decide to choose other parts, remember to do your research before buying. I'll leave some helpful links in the description. Any suggestions on how to improve my videos would be great. See you in the next video.